No, I've checked.
Okay. I'll just write not in court book then.
Time of the decision.
64.
No, obviously go the one that one will go in behind that one, I think. Yeah.
Too uncertain already.
Oh, yeah, there's one. Go for it, yeah. Oh, because it's in order. Okay. Can we all punch that?
Can we all punch that as well? Just take it with you if you need it. Just move it around.
Silence, all stand. This honourable court's now in session. Please be seated.
Yes.
The conceptual mine closure plan, which I just took Your Honour to, what is in fact in Your Honour's existing hard copy materials.
Okay, can we mark it or something? Volume 7, when I looked, it doesn't have a tab saying 121 or 122 or whatever. Can I have a look?
I'll explain that one. there's some confusion because the hard copy bundles, which Your Honour has been given, are only in 2 volumes. And then within those 2 volumes, that's what I thought Your Honour had been given, are various extracts from the 9-volume court book.
Anyway, you're taking me to another, we'll sort that out later.
Yes,
You're
Your Honour,
taking
now-
me to another document and you're going to give me a copy, is that right?
I'm taking you to another document, Your Honour, but the next 2 are in fact already in Your Honour's hard copy.
Okay, so where do I look?
Your Honour, the first is going back to Assessment Report 86, which I've already taken Your Honour to,
Okay,
but is tab 130.
all right. Let's just go there first. Thank you very much. Yes?
Now, Your Honour, this was the report in which the EPA approved the overburden management project, but with 30 recommendations as to what should occur.
So assessment report 86. Approved. What did it approve?
It approved the overburden management project, which
Is,
the new stuff that was being approved.
yeah, I get it, but what was it called? It's got a name.
Oh, yes. The mining management plan is MMP 2020.
So MMP 2020, that's what it approved, but with 30 recommendations.
To be clear, Your Honour,
No.
the project, which is the subject matter of all of this, that is the same thing that is the subject of the EIS and the assessment report,
Yeah.
but the mining management plan comes later. The mining management plan is dealing essentially with the same activities. So there were 30 recommendations, Your Honour. The one of the critical ones, which I'll show Your Honour now, is recommendation 12. That is at page 4425.
Yes.
So under the heading recommendation 12, roughly halfway down, the recommendation is, as soon as practicable after cessation of mining, tailings and other contaminated earth and material from the tailings storage facility shall be deposited in the mine pit void using contemporary best practice placement techniques, then protected with a water cover. And then in the next paragraph down, the intention of these measures is to protect the MacArthur River water quality and aquatic ecosystems from surface or groundwater contamination, consistent with the EPA's overarching environmental outcome in recommendation 3. Any requirement to vary these measures will need approval from the relevant regulator and notification to the NT-EPA. So tailings in this tailings storage facility get moved to the open pit and covered with water. That's what the NT-EPA is saying.
So, say that again. Tailings get moved.
Tailings get moved from the tailings storage facility, the TSF, to the mine pit void, so the hole.
I did get that bit.
For me, if no one else, right. And then covered with water.
Okay.
Now, that's the Northern Territory EPA.
What this is?
This is the Northern Territory EPA.
Assessment Report 86
Yes, Your Honour.
is the Northern Territory EPA.
Yes, Your Honour. Now, the next regulatory approver is the Commonwealth under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act.
Say that again.
The Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act.
Righto.
I could show Your Honour that. That is also in Your Honour's hard copy materials, tab 138.
I have a tab 139. Well, hang on. Yes, I have it. Sorry, it was covered. All right, wait a minute. What is it? What am I looking at? Approval.
Yes.
Approval under that
Approval under the Act.
equals tab 138. All right. And what are you going to take me to in that?
First, can I just show Your Honour at the bottom of this page, period for which the approval has effect.
Yes?
The approval has effect until 30 January 2019.
Yep.
Then if I could ask Your Honour to turn the page.
So that's page 4830. Equals 2/30 January 2019, yes. And then we've got page 4831, is that right?
That's right, Your Honour, under the heading Conditions of Approval. And condition 4 is the relevant one, Your Honour. And that mandates that the proposed pit lake must remain hydraulically isolated from the MacArthur River and its floodplain.
Okay, so that puts an end, you say, to the previous plan.
And then if I could ask Your Honour to go forward to the next tab, 139. This is the statement of reasons for that approval. If I could show Your Honour what's said at 4863. Your Honour should see paragraph 14, halfway down the page. I have set the period for which the approval has effect until 30 January 2019, and in coming to a view on this date, I've taken into account, A, the modelling in the EIS was based on a 1,000-year time frame. Now that's the MRM EIS I took Your Honour through. B, the proposal has 4 stages as outlined in the EIS, with a closure phase of 2048 to 3019, including sustained care and maintenance. C, there is a need for very long-term monitoring and management of the site post-mine closure. Proposed approval decision, that's the proposed approval decision brief, as the department considered that contaminants in the groundwater and in the Barney Creek diversion may increase over very long time periods beyond the closure of the mine. And then E, the NT EPA independent expert has estimated that without maintenance, the mine levee will deteriorate and erode in 1,000 years based on maximum predicted erosion rates. The department recommended requiring the proponent to undertake a study to determine the long-term stability and performance of the mine pit levee as part of the adaptive management plan.
We've skipped D.
Yes, I didn't see it as hugely relevant, Your Honour, but I don't have any difficulty with it.
Right.
Now, as Your Honour will anticipate, that's all relied upon by us to say any limitation to 10 years of monitoring doesn't make any sense.
You say it goes more than not making any sense, it's completely unreasonable. All right,
And then, Your Honour, that brings us to the MMP 2020, which is at tab 19 of Your Honour's materials.
okay, Lucy, have you got that? Do you know where tab 19 is?
Should be in volume 1 of the hard copy materials.
Thanks. Give me that one back. Yes?
Yes, now, this is the thing, the document, the proposal that gets approved by the Minister, which is what we're challenging in these proceedings. And if I could ask Your Honour to go to page 203. And Your Honour will see there, this mining management plan provides for the continuation of activities at the mine and BBLF, that's the Bing Bong loading facility, as well as the commencement of activities generally consistent with the Overburden Management Project, OMP, Environmental Impact Statement, EIS. So that's what we've just been through.
So where do I find that?
So the OMP EIS,
OMPEIS, righto.
the Overburden, I'm sorry, no, this is under the heading Planned Activities.
Got it.
Yes. So that was the Chapter 3 document that I showed Your Honour earlier, and it had the conceptual mine closure plan attached to it.
Yes. Got that.
So it says it formalises the activities and actions to be implemented, and then in the next paragraph, it sets out a summary of what it's seeking approval for, and Your Honour will see the bullet points which identify that: continued development of the open pit, continued development of and emplacement of overburden in the Northern Overburden Emplacement Facility, and the various other matters there set out. Turning forward to page 205. Under the heading, so this is 2/3 of the way down the page, there's a paragraph beginning, the key environmental management objectives for the mine are described as follows, and then 4 numbered paragraphs. Number 3 is to achieve a recovering trend in the water quality and ecosystem function in the creeks on the mine site within 20 years of cessation of mining. So that's a recovering trend within 20 years. Then over the page at 206.
So, okay.
And the recovering trend, Your Honour, again goes to the 10 years information on the monitoring costs.
Okay.
Over on 206, this sets out the components of the mining management plan. Your Honour will see the green box a third of the way down the page that says mining management plan in it. That's this document. And the arrows then go down. The one that goes to the right, environmental management system. And then if Your Honour looks at the various boxes on the left of that big box, Your Honour will see the penultimate one is unplanned closure plan. So the unplanned closure plan is part of all of this. Nowhere is the conceptual mine closure plan part of it. or what I would call the closure plan.
Do you say that there is no plan attached to this that deals with the anticipated closure of the mine in 2037?
Yes.
That's it?
That's common ground, I think, yes.
Righto.
I'll show you on why that matters in a moment. Then 207. That's under the heading unplanned closure and security assessment. That just gives a summary of what the unplanned closure plan is. It outlines the proposed approach for decommissioning and rehabilitation in the event that operations go into unplanned closure. And then the approach in the unplanned closure plan forms the basis for the preparation of a new security calculation.
What's DPIR?
The Department of Primary Industry and Resources.
Thank you. Righto, got that.
And then if I could ask you on to go to 335.
Yes.
Your Honour will see under the heading Unplanned Closure Plan, the Mining Management Plan Structure Guide requires an unplanned closure plan to address the possibility and impacts of unscheduled and unplanned termination of operations. Unscheduled and unplanned, I would emphasise.
Where's this?
This is in the
Oh,
first
I've got
paragraph.
the first
on the page.
paragraph. Okay. Paragraph 2 says the objectives of the unplanned closure plan remain consistent with the conceptual mine closure plan. And then they say what they are.
Yes. And that assumes some importance for the 10-year monitoring limitation, because I'll show Your Honour in a moment. In the conceptual mine closure plan, there was that graph that showed 1,000 years of monitoring. That also appears in the unplanned closure plan.
Okay.
Now, the unplanned closure plan, if I could take you to that now, Your Honour, that's at tab 57 in volume 1 of Your Honour's hard copy materials.
Cute, got it. Wait a minute.
And if I could ask Your Honour to go forward to 2195.
Now, wait a minute. What have we've just done tab,
To get some exhibit.
you need to start to exhibiting things, tendering things. So the one we've just done is mining management plan.
Yes, I think before that I omitted to get a exhibit reference for the Commonwealth approval and reasons.
Righto, let me have a look. So you're going to do those as one?
Yes, please, Your Honour.
I'll just... So, what are we up to? P5?
P5, Your Honour.
So Commonwealth approval and reasons, tabs 138 and 139 will be exhibit P5. MMP 2020, tab 19, will be exhibit P6. And you're now tendering the unplanned closure plan, tab 57, that right?
Yes, Your Honour.
Which is exhibit P7. And that, yeah, okay.
I'm reminded helpfully by my learned friend that the assessment report 86.
Righto, let's renumber everything.
Sorry, Your Honour, sorry.
Assessment report 86 was exhibit P2.
I've been misled by my learned friend, I'm sorry. Your Honour.
Well, that's, he's doing that on purpose, obviously.
No doubt unintentional.
P3, just make sure I've got them all. So
So the numbering's okay.
P4, yeah, I've got that. P5. P6 and P7, righto.
So I was going to take the court to 2195.
I've already got sticky notes all over this. Page what?
2195.
295. Sorry. Oh, what am I looking for? 2195. Tab 57. Okay. Yes.
Under the heading 1.1 scope and purpose, tells us what this is. An unplanned closure plan is the first paragraph under that heading. An unplanned closure plan to address the possibility and impacts of unscheduled and unplanned termination of operations. And then in the third paragraph down,
Mining Management Plan Structure Guide for Mining Operations requires an unplanned closure plan to address the possibility and impacts of unscheduled and unplanned termination of operations. Now, are you saying that, I mean, is that right, according to you?
yes, that's right, Your Honour. As I submitted earlier, contingency planning of this nature is necessary. It's just
not sufficient.
Not sufficient, yes.
Okay.
Then the third paragraph, the unplanned closure plan provides the guiding concepts used in the calculation of security required to be held by DPIR, the department.
You say that's right or not?
I say that is wrong in the sense that providing security by reference only to the unplanned closure plan will not meet the requirements of Section 43A of the Act. That's my second issue. But that paragraph does identify usefully that the unplanned closure plan is focusing on what would happen on the immediate cessation of mining operations if it was to occur at the end of 2020.
You say security for the unplanned closure plan is necessary but not sufficient.
Yes, Your Honour. The plan itself is necessary but not sufficient, and the security by reference to it is necessary but not sufficient.
Okay. Where to next?
2206.
Yes.
Your Honour will see at the bottom EPBC Act Approval 2014/7210. That is Exhibit P5, and the relevant condition is quoted here, and it said this unplanned closure plan provides a closure concept that keeps the mine pit hydraulically isolated from the MacArthur River and its floodplain in accordance with those requirements.
but they don't have a planned closure plan that does that. Okay,
Now, the next page is quite important to our area of dispute. So in this unplanned closure plan, the next page says key activities in 2020.
so we're doing 207, is that right?
Yes, Your Honour. And it sets out here what they're planning to do in 2020. And the detail is not so important at this stage, but if Your Honour then turns the page to 2208, planned key activities for 2020, table 2. Your Honour will see that there's a column, the third column long is planned in 2020, and it said yes, no, depending on whether that's happening in 2020. And then the next column says planned beyond 2020, and again says yes, no, whether that particular line item is happening beyond 2020. And invariably, not invariably, but generally the answer is yes, it is continuing. And the reason why this assumes some importance is that the security was only calculated on the basis of the disturbance created by these key activities, not on the basis of the disturbance that was going to be created by all of the activities in MMP 2020.
Say that again.
The security was calculated on the basis
Of what? Planned key activities for 2020?
yes, and the closure of the mine at the end of 2020.
When that demonstrably was not going to be the case.
That's right. By definition, it's unintended. The closure at the end of 2020 is unintended.
Yeah.
Expressly.
Right. Okay.
2224. This again identifies, if one looks under safe to humans and wildlife, it's anticipated or it's hoped or planned, the post-mining landscape will be left in a condition safe and secure for animals and people for up to 100 years and safe for humans and animals between 100 and 1,000.
So it still refers to 100 to
Yes.
1,000 years.
So it remains the case that everyone's acknowledging that should be occurring at the closure of the mine, whenever that.
But you say it's not costed.
No, it's not costed beyond 10 years. Under the heading non-polluting on this page, one sees the same timeframes.
Yeah.
And then over the next page or two, one really sees those same things being confirmed. So on 2225, under the heading 5.1 definitions, third bullet point is monitoring. And Your Honour will see the last sentence of that bullet point, the monitoring stage is further divided into proactive monitoring and reactive monitoring, which is the distinction that we've seen previously in all of these documents. And then if one goes forward to 2286,
I note the time, but if you perhaps we should finish this with this particular document and then take the lunch and adjourn.
So 2286.
Mm-hmm.
Does you want to have that? Yeah,
Yes.
So it's assumptions, and then if your honour goes to the next page, and I'll just show this to your honour while I'm here, then won't need to come back to it. 2287. In the left-hand column, which is called domain, it says domain 5, tailings storage facility and water storages.
Yeah.
And to the right of that, next to water management, provision has been made to retain the WPROD and SPROD in the unplanned closure scenario. It is assumed that this water holding infrastructure will be required for water management in the long term, pit lake water. So that just confirms that those facilities will remain for a long time post-closure. And then on page 2288, on the left-hand domain column, all domains. The next column over says post-closure monitoring. And the underlying assumption is said to be security assessment allows for 10 years post-closure environmental monitoring.
Where's it?
So that's the fourth row down in the table on page 2288.
Right.
Security assessment allows for 10 years post-closure environmental monitoring, and it's described as an assumption. So that's not someone saying we think this is justified, it's just
it's an
how
assumption.
they've approached it. And then just finally on this document, Your Honour, 2291. Under the heading infrastructure, on completion of initial decommissioning activities, infrastructure that will remain on site includes WPROD and SPROD and the mine levee wall.
Yeah, and the mine pit lake. Yeah.
And then the last page reference for this document, 2293. Your Honour should have the anticipated monitoring graph. And Your Honour, that brings me up just to flag to showing Your Honour the actual decision documents and then dealing with the three.
And we'll come to those at 2 o'clock. So this is set down for 2 days. I don't know whether that was council's estimate or whether it was a sort of random allocation of time, but are we going to be done in 2 days?
I haven't spoken to Mr. Lloyd about it. It was council's estimate. I think we will. I think this was the time-consuming part of the submissions.
Yes.
I think actually showing, Your Honour, that 42G requires the closure plan and it's going to be far more straightforward. So I would anticipate certainly being done today.
All right, thank you for that indication. Can I get those submissions? Can you bring the submissions up?
Oh, yes, Your Honour, we're having a folder printed with the submissions.
I'd like those during lunchtime if I may.
Yes.
Also, could I just request, please, from both council to have your submissions also in Word form, as in emailed to my associate in Word form. Thank you. All right, please adjourn the court.
Silence all stand. This honourable court now stands adjourned.